Like, comment, and subscribe to J New Orleans.
Introductions and personality on social media content can be misleading because, like, if I'm a certain way on here, like a lot of people are a certain way on their pages and stuff, it's almost expected that that's the person all of the time. That's why we have so much confusion when you see different people and people don't get that person because context is everything. Is it just a persona for the internet possibly and the real person is opposite, etc. So for me, I just come straight in with the content. But yeah, so addiction is seductive, and that's the part people don't talk about enough because when we're kids, addiction usually looks like the ending. It looks like homelessness. It looks like losing jobs, losing family, losing identity, losing dignity, losing teeth, losing time, losing your mind, losing everyone who still had enough optimism left to answer your calls. As a kid, I used to look at adults and wonder how did they get there, and how does a human being go from I'm just having fun to nobody trusts me with their kids, their money, or their address. Because it was a lot of people that I would see when in the car with adults that would say, "Oh, that person was the star football player, or she was a singer, and she was sounded better than Aretha Franklin," and different things like that. And then you see the person and they strung out in front of the corner store, or they at the bus stop all day, or they sleeping outside. And I always wondered as a kid, how did they start? Because watching all of the little cartoons taught me that everyone had an origin story. So I used to always wonder, like, how do you get there? Because I know people not born there. But the older I got and I saw it happen in real time, especially people my age drift from drama into trauma into addiction. Some people had already started when we were in high school with falling off in different ways in life, in a personal life, or just dropping out of school completely and then picking up the addiction then, or going through traumatic experiences that caused them to not be able to go to school, which led them to seek solace in those things. And what hit me was that addiction usually does not introduce itself as addiction. It introduces itself as relief. It enters like a charming liar with great timing. It shows up when somebody is stressed, lonely, grieving, ashamed, bored, underdeveloped emotionally, spiritually empty, socially influenced, or just tired of carrying life raw. Heavy on the socially influenced. Like the influence of social media is very, very underestimated. The power that us as humans have to influence people if we're around them enough, if we the person that's leading the conversation, like when it comes to people with large following, they're leading the conversation. Almost never you will see things that the people who follow them say make it into what they discuss or how they move or the decisions they make. It's about them. When we go to concerts, it's about that artist. It's not about anybody else there. So with that type of power, each person, depending on what people follow them for, can either consciously or subconsciously influence you into doing different things. Like a lot of the music glorifies drug usage, selling drugs, using drugs, and all types of other things. So that we can like say it's not happening to me or it won't be me. And that's exactly how it happens. Because when we let our guard down, thinking that we have the control over everything, is when we lose control. It's like you think the car is a self-driving car, so you take your hands off the wheel, and then when it's a rough curve, like that curve on I-10 that people always slam their brakes on because they don't know how to coast. Anyways, that rough curve, you lose control of the vehicle because you never had control. And it says, "Here, let me help you take the edge off." That's how it starts. Nobody says, "I want to ruin my nervous system, damage my relationships, become financially unstable, lie to everyone who loves me, and possibly traumatize my children." No. And then also, when it comes to that, a lot of the times people don't know the person. Since people can't differentiate or not taught to differentiate the persona we have in the real world versus who we really are in our personal life versus who we are on the inside, which is three separate layers of personality. A lot of times people try to live life with only one of those in all environments, and it becomes draining because all of the stuff for the other two layers is still occurring on the inside. It's just being stuffed down, and it haunts the person who does it. So a lot of the times people will start off with substances, any kind you could think of, legal and illegal, because it'll allow them to let themselves free. That's why you see people that do certain things under the influence of whatever. Like some people have a personality of being a crying drunk or twerking on perks and all of that, just different things. So those situations allow that inner person to be free for a temporary time, and then it feels free to the person themselves. And that's another way to make it easier for people to pick up addiction really quickly. And especially if it's a group of people that they could share the experience with. Like, you only relevant if you go to the clubs, you only relevant if you go all of these places. And then if you don't drink, the people that you're going with, it's a group effort. The group agrees on drinking. You the one person in the group that's not drinking. People like that tend to make you feel pressure to drink. It's very rare that you have a group of mature people that respect each other in the group to where y'all more of coexisting people versus one group mind, and allowing people to do different things in the group without making snide remarks or keep reminding you of it every night, or having other people offer it to you, or asking you weird questions, or just the things that people typically do in groups, because a lot of people haven't matured and they still carry different ideologies from high school and elementary school. Like, when you really look at a lot of these adult situations, especially on social media and the reality TV, it's very elementary the way these things happen. Adults are supposed to be the know-it-alls. Like children, when we were kids, we was always taught to any adult could fix any situation. And that's what it almost felt like as a child. But to be an adult and to really see that majority of these people don't know anything except the negative, except how to be angry, except how to be destructive, except how to be overly critical, except how to be ungrateful, except how to always push their wants and needs on other people, but don't even realize when they're neglecting the needs and wants of others and wondering why it don't come back around. Word to recycle. But no one says any of those things. And then 1 week becomes one season becomes a lifestyle, then a lifestyle becomes their personality. Then one day everyone around them is walking on eggshells while they insist they're fine. That word has destroyed more homes than termites. Fine. Humanity, the favorite emergency lie for humanity. And so with section 1, addiction does not start ugly. For every alcoholic you see falling apart publicly, there was usually an earlier version of them that looked socially acceptable. They were the fun one, the outgoing one, the one who could handle their liquor, the one who drank after work to decompress, the one who had a rough week, the one who was just celebrating, the one who said, I deserve this. Especially when people have a bad day at work and they say, oh, I deserve this, or if it's a person's birthday, it's social tradition for some people, for however many people that is, that you get drunk on your birthday. And I fell victim to that. Not even fell victim. I participated willingly initially, and then of course you can't consent after you inebriated, so I fell victim afterwards. And that's what makes addiction dangerous. The opening stages are often culturally rewarded. Social drinking is normal. Stress eating is normal. Impulse shopping is normal. Scrolling for hours is normal. Scrolling for hours is really on some zombie type stuff, because I really can't count how many times a day I see people, not with their phone in their hand, because a lot of people really, I see that, but those people are not the issue, because I'm not looking at every single car on the road. The only thing that makes me look into a car is when the person is swerving, when they're holding up green lights, when they're just doing different things. Because for me, being such a good Samaritan, I just want to make sure they didn't pass out or having a medical emergency or something like that. Or just to see if they good, like if they look like they inebriated, I'll be sure to get away from them as quick as possible. And upon looking, 100% of the times I've done it within the past few months, it has been a phone in their hand and they never looked up. on curving, winding roads and everything. Is I have enough dash cam footage to make a whole Netflix just of people doing stuff like that. So yeah, scrolling for hours, that addiction is real. It's upon us now. And really, if you replace cell phones with a zombie skin on the people, you would think that we living in Resident Evil. The phones really have these people locked down to where people are not able to work out at the gym. People at every place that has corners or walkways, they're walking into people, they're walking into walls. When I worked offshore on this for this one company, a guy fell in a open hole on the boat that we all knew about that they told us to watch out for because he could not stop scrolling. Like it's a very serious addiction, and it's so strange because almost every person you see scrolling, when you interrupt them, even if it's because they're blocking you or if it's a person who's at work and scrolling and you're a customer, an innocent customer who's just coming for a service, paying, you're not coming to steal from anybody, you come in to spend your money from wherever source, but you did your money, and you have to have people look at you like you stepped on a brand new Jordans at a house party in 2007, and it's because you interrupted their scrolling. And then they're so addicted to the scrolling, they'll scroll mid conversation and miss everything you're saying. And it's like that addiction is one really for the books. That's going to be something that if people want to better themselves, the people who don't want to better themselves or who don't have the will to better themselves or who don't have the resources, whatever the reason, those people will be stuck with that addiction because that addiction is probably the most sinister one because it's not as hands-on as actual substances or food or shopping or stuff that can be depleted. You can't really deplete scrolling, and phone services is so cheap nowadays, it's easy to have access to it. But those people, those scrolling people, if anything does not motivate them, understand that we live in a country where it's all types of natural disasters, all types of things that make the grid go down for whatever reason. If you have a scrolling addiction, if you happen to live in a area that has hurricanes or whatever, any type of things, blizzards, I can't imagine what you will go through if you ever are unfortunate to have to be there for two days plus, however long. Hopefully that never happens. But just think about that. If you ever somewhere where you cannot scroll, or if a lot of y'all doing it while y'all driving, y'all are going to end up in jail because y'all having car accidents. I have videos of that. It's so many different things that's being done, and your addiction. If you get arrested, you're not going to have access to those things unless you get in a county where you could trade some whams and then maybe somebody can work something out for you. But even then, if the people catch you with that, you're going to have more jail time. So just know you're either going to be gone from this place, or you're going to take somebody else from this place, or you're going to be in jail. So that scrolling for hours and driving and just like causing ruckus and still looking back down is crazy. Sports betting is normalized. Vaping is normalized. Mind y'all, I take breaks in between, like the scrolling for hours was a point, and then sports betting was right after that. But I had broke down scrolling for hours because video is long anyway. Might as well get in where I fit in. So vaping is normal. Oversharing online is normal. Emotional instability is rebranded as authenticity. Public breakdowns are called content. And also for all of these points, social drinking, stress eating, impulse shopping, scrolling, sports betting, vaping, oversharing, emotional instability, public breakdowns, those things being done, for my novice-minded viewers, the point of mentioning those things is the fact that people typically don't realize the stronghold those things have on them for the ones that indulge in it. And they don't realize the downward decline that they start making. And if they're fortunate enough to have loved ones to give them a fair warning and say, hey, decline, then typically in those situations, the person may be in denial or maybe ashamed or just unaware, might not even realize it. Some people may be so gone in the mind, depending on what they're going through, that they that they don't realize that they picked up new habits. Maybe it won't be until they see their funding go down and they realize, oh, I've been spending all this money on this. Or, typically, especially like if you run out of money, I think most people become financial advisors while they run out of money. And then as soon as they get money again, they back to being Daddy Warbucks from the Annie movie and, just making it rain. And we are living in a time where people are not only sick, but performing their sickness to an audience. And the audience claps because the sickness looks relatable. This is one of the darkest parts of modern life, because when dysfunction becomes common, people start mistaking it for harmless. But common is not the same as healthy. A lot of destructive behavior survives because it has good branding. Alcohol has branding, gambling has branding, phone addiction has branding, toxic relationship have branding. Man, mental instability has branding now. People don't just struggle anymore. They curate the struggle, they package it, put a filter on it, add trending audio, upload evidence, ruin their future in high definition, and then act shocked when consequences show up with no ring light. And there's so many examples of that. And the sad part about it is that it's not a lot of these adult content creators that fall into that category, is that they don't realize their only audience is not adults. A lot of teenagers watch a lot of these channels, regardless of if you put the 18 filter, things like that. Is really nothing for those people, the younger generation, to just make the emails like they do, because I see them under the videos all of the time in the comments saying they age and talking about they still in high school and all this other crazy stuff. So those are the ones who really get influenced, because they make struggling look romanticized and cute. And of course they see the attention other people get for it, and attention is something that people crave more than money. If people don't realize it, people think they'll crave money, but the things that they use money for is to get attention. People don't give money and go live a quiet life in the Amish community and build in a bunker underground. The Amish don't even know you there. No, immediately you see that the people online, typically when they secure funding, or if they want to appear like they have major funding, they go above and beyond on visuals. They're not playing. And people on social media, they even believe it, to the point where if you tell them wealth is silent, they will argue you down to the ground, down below, all the way to anywhere like that's not there. So it's really attention that people want. Attention is worth more than money. Even businesses, they spend millions for your attention. Advertisement is your attention. They saw that people lost faith in media, and they see how much power that social media has on people and the influencers on there. And that is why now they have went balls to walls with just pouring money into the influencer community, because influencers now are worth more than any commercial on television, because people barely watch television. People mainly stream. So we're spending hundreds of millions a year on commercials, but we paid this one influencer $100,000, and then they make our stuff go viral, and we made $5 million off a $100,000 investment for attention. So attention is something that people have to understand, and that's how you also need to have a type of self-scanning, self-awareness assessment, because some things that we've wanted, like even for my younger self, when I thought about a lot of my bucket list goals and a lot of my long time things and travel list things, some of the destinations were genuine and from the heart, and they stood the test of time. But then a lot of them were with social media in mind, but it wasn't directly in mind. It was subconsciously in mind, because it wasn't the first thought, but throughout the thought, the fantasizing of going to these places, and in some instances going to the places, the first thought was good pictures and, oh, I'm going to pose like this and all of this other crazy stuff, and what my caption going to be and all of that stuff. And it's like that type of living is slavery. Like eventually you're going to run out. Like you're never you're gonna realize when it comes to people, people change. Just like we change on the inside, people really do change. Or in some instances, maybe we missed the signs that people were giving us the whole time, or the person themselves were secretly never that person, and then eventually they just revealed who they really were, and we served our purpose with them, so it was no longer them trying to please us or anything like that. And also, the next section is the psychology of seduction. And I'm not a psychologist. My degree is in technology, if that helps, which it don't. But anyways, adduction is seductive because it works. At first, that is the psychological trap. Addictions are often built on reinforcements. You feel pain, stress, emptiness, grief, boredom, insecurity, social pressure, emotional discomfort. You use something to change your internal state. The brain remembers that relief. Then it learns a dangerous lesson. Pain equals use. Stress equals use. Loneliness equals use. Celebration equals use. Boredom equals use. Now the object is no longer just an object. It becomes a shortcut, and the brain loves shortcuts. That's why when you, if like mentioned previously, when you do something like if you walk in a room, it's probably already ingrained in your head to reach for the light switch. Or if you close a door or close your main door, it's probably ingrained in you to lock it. And that's how sometimes people mistakenly lock themselves out of their homes. It's the same thing when it comes to other habits. If every time we watch TV, we usually eat, that means that if we ever have the television on, we probably going to trigger the hunger signal in our brain because of that connection, because our brain makes connections. That's why when people are making positive changes, it's good to habit stack with something of pleasure with something that you need to do. So like if maybe you want a piece of chocolate every day, you a good way to get yourself to do your homework on time is to give yourself the homework first. That way, when you do have the chocolate, you know that it's connected to homework. And in the future, when you do eat chocolate, it might make you want to do your homework. You never know. But especially when the person does not have healthy coping skills, healthy community, emotional vocabulary, discipline, self awareness, or a deeper sense of purpose. And when it comes to those things like healthy coping skills, that's really not something that is common in the areas I've experienced. Healthy community, partially, like a lot of those things are performative for people. People will perform being unbothered. People will perform, oh, we a family, oh, we're a community, or all of that stuff. That's performative because when it is true, is really not needed to be stated because it shows itself clearly. Like, and a lot of people are not addicted to the substance alone. They're addicted to escaping themselves. That's why when you remove one addiction and watch another one pop up wearing different clothes, the alcohol stops. Now it's sex. The drug stop. Now it's shopping. The gambling stops. Now it's doom scrolling. The cigarette stop. Now it's rage. The partying stops. Now it's obsessive validation seeking online, because the real issue was never just the item, it was the unaddressed wound beneath the item. A lot of people don't want sobriety, they want painless self destruction. They want a version of ruin that still lets them look functional. That's where high functioning addiction gets people. They say, I still go to work, I still pay bills, I still take care of my kids, I still show up. And maybe they do. But if your peace is gone, your body is stressed, your relationships are strained, your emotions are unstable, your money keeps disappearing, your honesty is declining, and the people around you feel your aftershock. You do not have control. You have routine, and routine can make a person feel normal. The treatment gap is huge, partly because so many people do not recognize that they need help. In a 2023 survey, 39.6 million adults with a substance use disorder did not receive treatment, and 94.7% of them did not perceive a need for treatment. And in addition to that, there's some stats that I'm going to show. This one, talking at my mouth dry. Shout out to the chatty community. Better than me. Addiction in America remains. So 48.4 million, I'm trying to highlight, people aged 12 and older struggling with a substance. Dang, 12? While overdose saw in 2024. That's a good thing that is declining. But it's still, my thing about stats about people dying is not like rainwater where you compare rain this year from rain last year since Earth recycled water. When people die, like, okay, less people died this year, but it's still buku, like dead people. Like one death is crazy. So just imagine, like, yeah. And then with alcohol, it impacted 27.9 million people in 2024. It is declining. That's good. Opioid, that can happen so easily, especially if you ever had an injury with broken bones. Man. And then we have the other things trending upward. You see them. And then also cell phones. That's really, like, honestly, for me, that probably is the most dangerous one because it's not only the doom scrolling, it's the information people consume, and a lot of it is not even accurate. Like, I cannot tell y'all how many times it's been things reported, and I probably was there or in the city that it happened, and no, man. Or even the fact that people support celebrities so much that they start to pick up the beliefs they have just to feel closer to them. That's very dangerous because media is paid for your entertainment. Like, it's supposed to be whatever you want to see. That's why they count viewers, because what is catching people's eye? That's all they care about. And whenever people are good at catching people's eye, let's duplicate that in any way, or let's find a way to get them to buy this from the person. Let's get them to buy that. That's why every person that you see always come with something for you to spend money on. It's never just enjoying them or them appreciating the fact that y'all support them in whatever endeavors they do. No, they want more money from you because it's about their survival. It's not about yours. But yeah. So for cell phones, approximately 45.8 identify as addicted to their smartphones. Americans spend an average of 5 hours and 16 minutes on their phones daily. I've seen people do it for 12 hours when I had a 12-hour shift, all 12 hours. Checking frequency. Dang. The average American, 186 times. I think for me, the only time I'll use it is for Apple Pay or like any type of thing that's in there that you got to scan. But no, I took it back to the old school. I use desktop and laptops, iPad. And even in them situations, I'm using it for information purposes. If it's entertainment, it ain't really entertainment because for me, I don't find much of the stuff entertaining no more. Like I'm actually shocked when shows actually get a reaction out of me because that third screen stuff is really that's what killed television and movies. So back to this. We saw enough of the cell phone stuff. But with those types of things too, though, the hit dog hollering effect is like it makes it hard to get through the importance of these issues to people because if they hear anything that feels like it applies to them, that defense mode goes up and they're not even considering what's being said. They're not considering like the claims being made or the dangers that's being stated and things of that sort. And then they end up falling victim to the exact same thing later. And people never come back, and rarely come back in my experience. I don't know what yours is, but and say that you were right. And for me, I used to care about that, especially as a teenager. That's why I used to just give away all of the secret information I knew just from intuition to people, just to prove, like, please listen to me, please heed this warning. Especially watching movies about people saving people by telling them stuff. It's like that shit don't work at all. Like, honestly, all you can do is just have popcorn, because it's very few people that the that may be receptive to that for many different reasons. Like, so it's not even worth it, honestly. And for me, I just learned to stay away from self-abandoned people, self-destructive people, because intuition be like frying like Popeyes at 10 a.m. because it's like, oh, it's they always in danger. They don't, yeah. So alcohol is one of the most socially protected addictions in existence. It's at weddings, it's at funerals, it's at birthdays, it's at work events, it's at brunch, it's on girls' night, it's on guys' trips, it's in sports culture, it's in music, it's in celebration, it's in sorrow. It's one of the few substances where people will look at someone declining it and act like they're the weird one. That's how deep the normalization goes. They definitely do that. And not to mention, a few of those places really is not the place for that. Like with work events, unless y'all gonna do like the purge, and what happens at the event stays at the event no matter what, you really playing with fire drinking around people you work with. Especially if you took it from going to lunch breaks with them, and then all of a sudden it's happy hour after work or whatever after work, playing with fire, especially now in the age of social media, where it really is everything online. Because at one point, for a long time with social media, they hadn't got to the point of posting everything. It felt like you only could do certain things like birthdays and outfits and stuff like that. The only people who was posting every day used to be the rich people who had a life enough to post every day. At one point, people still, when social media hit, people still was normal in their real life, and they just would compete with their neighbor, or compete with their baby daddy, other baby mama, or their baby mama, other baby daddy, that type of stuff. And trips too. Trips is really dangerous, because even the most dangerous city in America cannot touch the danger of a lot of the countries that we go to, especially the beautiful ones, because the beautiful ones that people like to go to more than likely is curated for tourism. So literally that world is a separate world, but the world around those cities is Armageddon. Like if one US city was like that, we would think it was Armageddon. Like, so the fact that people are comfortable being intoxicated in other countries, more power to you. But it's not safe. Not to mention, majority of the people still have this inaccurate view of the world, and they don't realize that is not, like, the realization of the world is not saying it's a bad place, like how people do every time it's bad news on the news by a human, stuff that a human did. But the type of people in this world, if y'all really sat down and absorbed it, a lot of y'all probably wouldn't leave your house, because you go from being completely unaware to being completely over aware. That is why awareness is something that families should teach their children, because don't ever give nothing that sensitive to a school to teach. Just a lot of things families and parents or whoever is raising the child should be teaching children, so that they can start developing those things as a child. Some people may have developed awareness as a trauma response, but nevertheless, they've developed it earlier. That's why you have people who are aware to the point where you may think that they have some type of paranormal ability or something like that. But trying to get people up to speed now, the brain does not work that way. That is why I always encourage people, as long as you plan to be alive and maneuver the world, continue using your brain. It is a muscle. So if you're not learning, your brain is withering away. It's like if you stop walking and your legs still work, but you stop walking, over time your muscles are going to start to deteriorate and shrink. And a lot of people brains have done that. And that's like actual scientific fact. And it could be, and it's shown because look at the things that can impact you. Like if y'all find out your favorite celebrity eye color wasn't real, people literally cry because they're not used to absorbing new information. When you get yourself used to new information, then your brain gets out of lockdown mode, because when it's in lockdown mode, it tells itself that everything other people are informing you of is not, if it's not matching what you believe, is wrong. So a person can tell you that you don't mix bleach and ammonia together, which is a scientific fact, and it makes a toxic chemical. But a person may say, "Oh, my people been doing that all their life, and ain't nothing ever happened." And then that one time something happened. But it's because, so it's like, please practice being more aware of stuff. Like, look, because a lot of the times the news will report something as new that is old, like robbery in Mexico. And then all of a sudden it's all of this panic and y'all better be careful at the resorts and all of this other stuff. But the thing is, that been happening. Like those risks and dangers that they tell y'all about one time, maybe it's a slow news day, maybe that was the popular destination and they know the mention of it in the news is going to get people viewing, because the news is the first social media, if y'all don't know this. Like the clickbait that y'all see online from creators, content creators, the news does that. Like, look, if you look at a story that's big enough to be reported by multiple news places, look at how different those titles are, but look at how dramatic they are. Like, it could be a toy whale that fell out of a truck and hit a baby, but it's a stuffed animal, so it just hit the baby. The news will report whale falls from truck, lands on baby, with no further context, and then gonna get you to scroll past 5011 ads to get to the actual little paragraph story telling you what really happened. So it's like, yeah. And let's see. So it's like when it comes to researching all of that, you just want to make sure you keeping your brain working, you knowing how to dissect the truth from stuff. If you see 20 news articles and a lot of things are different, connect everything that's the same and then piece that together, and reference different things from, like, learning, like scientific things, maybe, just things to allow you to have a more open mind and know where to look up stuff, or have it in you to, when you have a question, instead of asking a person, ask the internet. Not the internet like in a social media manner, but like research it. Like, I don't want to say that because that is used in so many different arguments now, so it may not be taken for the literal sense, but it's simple as what I just showed up here. Like, when you want to research, just do this. Now, this is not my method of research for actual information that I look for. In this instance, I just wanted stats, which was very simple. So I pulled that up for the sake of this video. But this is a good starter point because this is the AI summary, but these are actual links here, like Center for Disease Control, NCDAS. Like, you can actually go here and get raw information from the source. And I typically will always make sure to look at that if I have to research anything, is to look at the sources that they use. Let me see, 44. Oh. Smartphone addiction can result in sleep deprivation, increased stress levels, depression, and anxiety. That's crazy because when I did have social media, I remember they used to have so many people online when I would have the midnight to noon shift, and it'll be the same time every night, 2, 3, 4, 5 a.m., complaining that they can't sleep, but they liking tweets every 5 minutes and retweeting stuff every 5 minutes. And it's like, first of all, I'm sure their blue light is probably on, even though that's very presumptuous, given the fact that they can't stop scrolling. That supports my theory. So it's not just a blind assumption. And the cycle continues. And I always, like, I used to try to give recommendations, but it's those people who tell you a problem and it was for you to feel sympathy, because when you give them solutions, they reflect them back, like they deflect them, like they bounce them off of them, not even in a negative way, but they just either give reasons why the solution won't work, or they will like act like it's not possible, or if something else gonna happen. Those kinds of people, they want sympathy. They don't want solutions, because a lot of the times you don't even know them well enough for them to be venting to you about whatever the stuff is. Or you may shout out to social media, you may watch them portray something publicly or with a certain group of people, but then it's like, why you want to be the real you with me? Like, nah, you know. So while being addicted to your digital devices doesn't negatively impact your health as seriously as other types of addiction, it does indeed impact not only your mental health, but your physical. Physical. I just, I hope for people that want to change their body, I hope you want to do it for yourself, because when it comes to people's interest in health, but it's for aesthetics, that's the most dangerous shit you can do. Especially people think joining the gym is a good thing. The idea is good, but if you do not learn about the proper form, posture, don't come in the game ego lifting and all of that, you'll be okay. But the stuff I see, like, please stop looking at content creators for all of your gym needs. Like, also look up actual health websites. They have so many free health websites. If you look up proper form, you can look up the proper form for the exercises you're doing. But when you have these actual people who don't have a PhD or some type of doctorate or physical therapy background that is giving health advice just because they have a body that you really don't know how they achieved it, it's dangerous, because they, like, the squat rack stuff, all of that is so dangerous. It's so many exercises that's not healthy. And then if you're not doing mobility to open your hips up, because sitting in normal chairs that we sit in stiffens your hips up if that's the only way you sit over time. And if you have tight hip flexors and you're doing all them workouts, you're going to injure yourself and you're going to start having knee pain. That's why when people romanticize soreness after the gym, that's actually false. But I've tried one time to tell somebody that in the most casual way, and the resistance I was met with, baby, I won't ever discuss that with people. Y'all, good luck with that. Hopefully you have diapers ready, you have a bedpan, you have a thermos, like a urinal thermos for the bed, because it's not if, it's when. Like, the stuff, and not to mention the lack of vitamins in the food. I don't care what you eat. Like, you could eat 1,000 chitlins a day, but for your body non-negotiable and requires certain vitamins. And if you working out, you depleting resources that you didn't have in the first place. It's like if overdrafts, if your bank account just lets you overdraft and never stop, but you ain't never put no money in there, like, that's basically what people do to their bodies, whether or not they work out. But the fact that people don't forgot about the pyramid chart and they think it's negotiable about certain vitamins we need, and they wonder why so many different symptoms they have. They don't even wonder why. They probably just ask other people about it, or they just mask over it. And this is not a particular group of people. This is humanity, adults that I'm referring to. And let's see, as of 2025, I don't really care about that part. Let's see, or smartphone only. I thought I saw something about driving. 69% of smartphone users check their device within the first 5 minutes of waking up. And that actually triggers your fight or flight response when you do that. And it gets the dopamine rush started for the day. It's recommended by scientists, by spiritual people, by hoes who live in the sewer. Shout out to the Ninja Turtles. Like to at least wait an hour. Now, granted, some people, the way their life set up right now, may not have that luxury as far as, not looking at their phone. Maybe it might be their alarm clock. Or maybe they might wake up so close to time to get to work that they got to look at all of these things. So for the people who don't have those roadblocks, it'll help you a whole lot. I personally, when I looked at the phone in the morning, I never really scrolled the phone itself, because if it's any type of crazy news, I don't want to see that when I first get up anyway. But I used to check email, and that's not anything that, probably like 10 emails, 20 emails, a little spam here, a little ham there, delete that, get that out the way, and that's it. But I don't touch it at all in the morning, and it works very well. Like, I'll make sure to look at the sky, even if it's dark, to get all of the light. It's all kind of light that come in, and I could feel the difference. But that may not work for everyone. So, but honestly, too, though, the question is, does it not work, or do people not want it to work because they see no benefit from it? Because that's really what a lot of people move off. They don't move off longevity, they move off pleasure, like literally just doing things for the benefit. And the true nature of adulthood is understanding that a lot of things that need to be done are no fun. Like, no fun at all. Like, it ain't even, and that's what people have to take the whole, is it fun? I'm not having fun. I'm bored. It's, baby, everything don't have a game controller. Everything is not a PlayStation 5. Everything is not Pac-Man. But you can get packed up if you don't keep up with all of the different things that aren't fun. And there are certain things that may not be fun, but it may be a learning experience. Like, I've been to a few museums over time, and for me, I've never, like, what I thought the statues was gonna start twerking or something, or they was gonna have bottle service under the atomic bomb at the D-Day Museum or something. Like, nah. But the insight, the different vehicles, looking at time, like, I don't know. But that's more depth, and I think shallow living is simple, and maybe was the default setting that people was raised in. Who knows? But people really just never, like, if you live a shallow life, you didn't live. Like, you literally didn't live, because it's so much depth in everything. But that's something to be enjoyed personally. Like, some people express it in art, and other people able to connect to the enjoyment that way. But it's never something to try to sell to other people, because honestly, people are backwards programmed. They program for everything that's bad. That's why scammers will never go away, because they know how to present that knight in shining armor, and it'd be a rat in aluminum foil. So, you know, back to the lesson. Look at the birds making a cameo. And because alcohol is attached to fun, adulthood, relaxation, class, luxury, people miss how often it quietly becomes emotional medication. First, it's social, then it's ritual, then it's coping, then it's dependency, then it's identity, then reality becomes the thing they need recovery from. The CDC estimates excessive alcohol use causes about 178,000 deaths per year in the United States. and shortens the lives of those who die by an average of 24 years. Oof. And even before death, alcohol wrecks things in stages. It wrecks judgment, it wrecks sleep quality, it wrecks impulsive control, it wrecks emotional regulation, it wrecks money, trust, safety on roads, households. Safety on roads, yeah, because anytime I see anything in the news, it always ends up fatal. And it's crazy though, because it's like that used to be the only thing people had to worry about. Now it's all of these other things as well. But I can say just staying aware will take the edge off feeling like you have to worry, because if you react, if you become a proactive driver instead of a reactive driver, which a distracted driver almost loses the ability to react. But I'm always witnessing on the road where people clearly something is wrong, like with their driving, and rather than people get away from them, they ride behind them like it's a school bus, but then it's all kinds of other lanes open. And then what ends up happening is once they pile up behind the person either going below the speed limit or riding in the blind spot of the car next to them going through the same speed, the cars behind the like the second to the third car, they all start flying from around. Now you have this whole thing going. And of course, you're gonna have people slam on brakes because they don't know that if you take the foot off the gas while going high speeds, you drop speed pretty quickly, which prevents you needing to brake. Because typically those people will then accelerate again and then just continue accelerating, slam on brakes, accelerating, slam on brakes. And that's stuff that I accepted as well too. And since I know and I also noticed too, since people are unable to see the turn signals in their car, maybe the buttons are hidden, or maybe they stopped making them in cars like what Apple did when Apple used to come with headphones, charger, and all these things. And then over time they started taking less and less. Maybe the newer cars don't have turn signals. But what I do notice is before people hop in your lane, they always do this wave. Like you can see their subconscious sit, like it's, you can see the moment they decided they want your lane, and it never fails. Like I always can time that with people. And what I learned is sometimes is if I'm further enough away from them, when I see them do that, I'll get it behind them, and then they'll do what they was gonna do is get over, because they were about to get over with no signal on. But clearly they need that lane more than me. So yeah, that's why it wrecks safety on the roads. And then when it comes to addiction, people say I'm just blowing off steam. No, sometimes you are blowing holes in your own life and calling it steam. And one of the saddest parts is grief. People lose family, lose friends, lose youth, lose hope, lose dreams, lose health. Then alcohol becomes their pick me up. But really, it's more like renting fake relief on a payment plan with insane interest. Eventually, the bills come. It always comes. For me, I experienced something like that in 2012. Two family members died within 24 hours of each other. And so for me, that whole month of October, like at bottom of the bottle, I probably inspired Chandelier by Sia in 2012 October. But thankfully I was set that whole month and I was able to take off. And then the next month, once I went back to work, I went back to regular schedule. Because for me, it was more so the environments that I was releasing in, and partying and all of that stuff. But once I got back to regular programming, there was really no need for that at that moment. But it don't always end that easy for people. Sometimes it become easier to navigate, and then they realize, oh, I feel much lighter when I'm on this, or I care less, or I'm easier I could talk to more people, or I'm more social, I'm more whatever. But it don't it definitely does not help for too long. It's like climbing up a mountain. If you climb up a mountain and you keep climbing, eventually you're gonna start going back down again. And gambling is one of the slickest addictions because it can still look clean. No slurred speech, no smell, no needles, no stumbling, just a glowing screen, misplaced confidence, and a bank account getting spiritually mugged. And now it lives on the phone. That's a major shift. The old image of gambling was casinos, smoky rooms, dramatic losses, neon regret, and someone saying, "Baby, I can win it back." Now it's apps, sports betting, micro bets, fast access, promotions, notifications, risk-free language, algorithmic temptation. It feels safer because it's remote, but access itself is part of the danger. The National Council on Problem Gambling says an estimated 2.5 million US adults meet criteria for severe gambling in a given way, with another 5 to 8 million experiencing milder to moderate gambling related problems. And gambling addiction infects more than money, it infects honesty, relationship, planning, sleep, hope. Because gambling doesn't just sell the possibility of money, it sells the fantasy of instant rescue, and fantasies are very attractive to desperate people. That's how scammers get them, especially people who fell behind in life and feel behind in life, ashamed, financially trapped, or addicted to adrenaline. Gambling tells them one lucky break and your suffering can disappear. That's a spiritual lie as much as it is a financial one, because life built on chasing shortcuts usually becomes life ruled by consequences. That's the craziest part about the lottery. With the lottery, the people playing is the one who put the money in the pot. And so while playing to win, you paying somebody else, And it's stuff, it's fun to participate. Like all of these things, they really meant, if you're gonna try them, is to try it one and done, and not to do it long term. But the thing about it is, those companies use everyone that you like. Like when you look at their commercials, they're using athletes, they're using musicians, they're using so many different people to get other people there. They sending offers to you, or they making it to where from you gambling, you get other stuff for free. So people may initially start off with thinking, "Oh, I'm gonna just gamble for free parking," and then next thing you know, you living in the parking lot because you lost everything. And let's see, the new predator: social media and phone addiction. Now let's talk about the addiction. Wait, I don't even think I switched the microphone all this time too. Audio. Yep, I didn't. Yikes. And I'm holding this microphone. It probably sound echoey. There we go. Audio gets better at the damn near mid in was this is gonna be the longest video I ever made in the history. Lord. Anyways, now let's talk about the addiction people love to downplay, because almost everybody is holding their evidence in their hand right now: the phone. Cell phone addiction is different because people treat it like it's just modern life, but the symptoms are everywhere. People cannot sit with themselves, cannot eat without stimulation, cannot walk without looking down, cannot drive without checking something, cannot work without peeking, cannot have a conversation without mentally leaving it, especially on the phone. Oh my God. Like, dog, before I shave the surface level people, because it's like, honestly, all this charity work over the years of accepting everybody for who they are, but that was never reciprocated. But it's like surface level people, I noticed with them, the cell phone stuff hit them like crack in the 80s, because anytime they call themselves calling, because they always want to call, FaceTime, all of that other stuff, they literally would start scrolling mid conversation. And then I would just sit there. Like for me, I love doing that. When people on the phone and they start holding the phone, I just sit there too. Put the phone down, start doing something. But I'm not about to keep carrying conversations. That's bad for your back. So yeah, those kinds of people. But I find surface level is like contagious now. It felt like, and maybe it might be the societal thing of time when you one age versus when you another age. But I promise it felt like people were a little bit more individualistic, even if stuff was trendy. Like I remember for guys and girls, different styles from male and female artists trended, but people still had their own style to it. So yeah, they might have they used to call them the Beyonce braids, which was micro braids, but they outfits would be different. Like it was always different styles for people, but now it's almost to the point to where people are copying and pasting. And if they like a person enough, like I notice people who like some of these lifestyle influencers on Instagram, they tend to start talking like them, like word for word. Like it's very it's a new way of influence, and it's very strange because even before social media we never had this much of any celebrity to get that much influence out of them. You would have to repeat movies over and over, or repeat these interviews over and over, or keep reading their magazines. You didn't get new examples of their behavior. So now you have people like, I'll never forget my 20s. They had dudes dressing just like Future and growing hair out and getting their hair done and wearing sunshades just so they people could tell them that they look like Future. Like, you know, and that's a lack of role models. Us as humans, we design the role model after our parents, but if we don't have sufficient parentage, or just life happens, then people feel avoiding with other people that they look up to. And so let's see, people cannot regulate boredom, cannot hear silence without panicking, cannot rest without digital sedation. And the way people pull out their phone, they draw that phone faster than Wild West gunfighters. Except instead of defending the town, they're checking nonsense while merging across three lanes. And this addiction spills onto everybody around them. Distracted driving, mistakes at work, like people who juggle the phone while they're doing their job. Which the funniest part about the people who have customers, if you just put your full focus on your customers for a good amount of time, you literally could knock out you could clear up so much free time. Like the whole thing of like the people who work in busy industries, when they have rushes, you literally prolonging the rush by not paying attention, by having people repeat stuff, by giving the wrong things out, by making typos if it's in the office, by doing stuff wrong. Like, and it's so crazy because every time I see the people, they don't even look like they're alive. It look like they're in some type of delusion. Like they always have this delusional face. It don't look like they're reading or something. It's always this look like, let me see if I could duplicate it. That's what they look like. They look just like that. Like they look unconsciously conscious with their eyes open. And poor service, half listening, broken attention spans. A lot of the over the phone people or the in person people, like even some of the restaurants, the people are messing up orders because they're not paying attention. Are they handing out people food to the wrong person because they're not paying attention? Or you have these delivery drivers who can't stop scrolling while they delivering and having multiple packages in the back and giving the wrong package to someone. Like it's all of this stuff is like is unnecessary because no one wins in these situations. The person who making the mistake, they risking their livelihood, not to mention their safety, because ain't no telling, what type of mistakes they making. And then they giving consistent bad service to the people who give them money, which ends up making the people not come there no more. Now you got another business going out of business again. And then once you hear business going out of business, the first thing people in the city gonna say, whatever city, oh, another business closed. Oh Lord, we're in a Great Depression. So and then delayed responses in real life, but lightning reflexes for notification. Honestly, I'm sure the people who be in public be on the internet saying that they can't make friends and they can't find people and all of this other stuff. But baby, when I tell you, I treat people who
in public who be all in their phone, like I don't engage with them at all. I treat them like a cactus, like just stay far away from them. And because it's like it's no point, their brains be so fried, or they quickly trying to tell you about their favorite influencer, and then when you tell them you don't know who they are, they telling you their whole autobiography of a whole nother person who don't even know they exist outside of probably cash support or something like that. And not to mention, they typically are very like how people will want to exchange numbers for whatever reason, and they one of those addicted people. They be the ones who be texting you throughout the day but don't want anything, or be keep calling, and then when you pick up the phone, you end up keep they telling you hold every 5 seconds. They talking to people in the background every 5 seconds. You hearing tapping on the screen, and it's because they scrolling, or they asking you details for something. You providing the details. They telling you I'm listening, but they're not like. So no, like them kind of people, it's kind of like, would you go be friends with a crackhead? Would you go be friends with the person at the corner store that smell like outside? There's so no, honestly, it's a reach with those comparisons, but the amount of damage is the same. It's just not in the same manner. But the level, the fact that it is slowing this person's progress down in life, possibly putting them in danger, because it's too many people that stuff is happening to them because they was looking down. People getting snatched while they looking down. People not noticing people following them because they're looking down. People not noticing the car behind them been following them because they've been looking at their phone the whole time. Like these people cannot tell you when stuff happened. People getting in hit and runs because they never saw the car that hit them because they were looking down. Like, so when it comes to that type of situation, when you around people who don't have the basic safety skills, they become a liability. That is why children and anyone who's sick and shut in, or just need people assistance, it's important that they have care and protection, because when you don't have the basic safety needs, you literally live every day in danger of not living anymore. And when you add a distraction to it, not to mention a lot of the people are overly sharing online dangerously sensitive information, that since so many people share dangerously sensitive information, and the news doesn't care enough to tell you about all of the people that's been quietly being you know sent to the maker on these apps, from these apps, children being targeted from these things. Like it's hundreds of thousands of people missing every year. We only hear about 40 of them maybe. So, and a lot of it is being used. The internet is being used to do that now. And so, with people having these addictions, I'm not here to have to police somebody, because I'm not going to police you. I'm pro free will. But when it comes to a dynamic situation where if we're sharing something, we're sharing an outing, we're sharing space together, then some regulation gonna need to be brought into the organization. Because I don't really. That's why I really, people like me, because I'm enjoyable when they not dealing with their own demons and insecurities, or projection and all of that stuff. But what they gotta understand, everything you like about me was built over time, and it was built with understanding. I'm able to be this person because I'm at peace. I don't waste my energy on unnecessary things. That's why my energy feels like that, because you're feeling a fully charged person. People so used to being around drained people, when they get around a fully charged person, they either gravitate towards you, or they try to, see you as a threat or something, because a lot of people don't know what stuff feel like. People do not know what sanity and help look like. Some of y'all favorite celebrities went through therapy, rehab, and changed their life around, and y'all accusing them of being a clone. And some of the people don't even have enough influence to be wasting millions of dollars to be cloned. They don't have no influence now to be a clone, but since they so different and they're not as toxic as they used to be, then they're a clone. And that's what makes it hard for people to recover, because their environment enforces this. And the crazy part about it is, people will put the bottle in your hand and then tell you you have a drinking problem after you drink. So it's not situations like on the TV shows where people have the family meetings and they sitting around telling the person how much they support them and they working through their addiction. That's not how it really worked. In for some people, like some people are blessed to have that, but a lot of people don't. And a lot of the times, the people who telling you about the addiction you have probably is fueling it. If it's people who have judgmental family members, the family trauma probably is the reason that you felt pain these many years and chased after so many different things. And whatever it is that make you feel good, you just keep coming back to it. If a person make you feel good, you cling to them. If food make you feel good, you cling to that. Like whatever it is, because the deeper root, the symptom is the addiction, but the root and the actual wound is what happened to you, and not unpacking it and things like that. And then so that is why, like, if people have the ability to be alone for however much time, they don't realize that's the way out. Like being able to really clear your thoughts. But what ends up happening is some people get so far into chasing fun and good feelings and all of that, that the times they do end up alone, it be involuntary. And what ends up happening is they go into panic mode because they don't have any stimulation. And that's how some people start having dark thoughts. But usually when it comes to those dark thoughts, it's not for you, for it to consume you, it's for you to understand where they came from. And that's all it is. And that's why it's not always good to tell just anybody what you're going through, because sometimes you can have people, you can tell someone you're on the ledge and you thinking they're reaching their hand out to help you and they just push you over with whatever they say they did. There are some people out there. That's the part of that package I mentioned earlier of people that people really just don't realize exist around us. But there are people who actually take pride in infiltrating the lives of people and destroying people from the inside. Like, is some people do that for fun, and it may not look like a person with a whole bunch of Avengers and Marvel superhero level technology doing it. It could be a person in the hood doing it. It could be a person in a hut doing it. It could be a person in a tent doing it. You just never know. Like, but yeah, they do exist, and some of y'all may have came across them, and maybe you realize that when other people told you they went through the same thing, or once you speak up, other people tell you they went through the same thing, but they just was too afraid, or nobody ever spoke up, and you feel like you're the only person that it happened to, but then other people it probably did too. You just never know. So you can hear the delayed responses on the phone, the pause, that fake that dead air when they clearly wander back into the screen like a lab rat running to the button. And then they say, sorry, what were you saying? And how you know it's an addiction for stimulation is because they could easily just get off the phone with you. Baby, if scrolling is taking that much of your attention to where you literally are cutting me off when I'm speaking, and then once you done, you don't even be done half the time because you having these random breaks mid sentence, and then you just pause and you never, and then it's like, okay, what, you done? Like, it's like people just, it's not even people though. Whenever I say people, that's really emotion slipping out and projection, which is so funny to really catch. But yeah, there are some interesting individuals. And then they say, sorry, what were you saying? Modern translation. I want left humanity to re-enter the glowing rectangle. I temporarily left humanity to re-enter the glowing rectangle. This is not minor. The Surgeon General has warned there is not enough evidence to conclude social media is safe for children and adolescents. And Pew found that 45% of teens say they spend too much time on social media. Pew also found that many teens use platforms daily, and some say they are on platforms like TikTok or YouTube constantly. The APA has urged routine screening for signs of problematic social media use when it interferes with daily functioning. That matters because what begins as entertainment can become conditioning. Social media can normalize emotional outbursts, public humiliation, impulsive posting, voyeurism, comparison, self-objectification, addictive validation loops, parasocial dependence, outrage addiction, crisis performance, softcore self-destruction marketed as empowerment. And because all of it happens publicly, younger people begin thinking dysfunction is just personality. No. Some of what we are calling personality is untreated pain with Wi-Fi. Addiction is contagious socially. One of the hardest truths to accept is that addiction and instability spread. Not like a cold, not more like a climate. Humans are social. We absorb each other. We adapt to the emotional standards of our environment. We normalize what surrounds us. We become less shocked over time. We start tolerating what once disturbed us. Then one day we're participating in things our earlier self would have warned us about. This is how people lose themselves around addicted or unstable circles. You can be trying to go to the gym, cook at home, regulate your emotions, get more rest, save more money, invest, build purpose, protect your peace, and heal your mind. But if everyone around you, family, friends, coworkers that you let be in your ear more than they should be outside of work related things, the neighbor who bought you some food after that one barbecue, now you give us so you feel like you entitled they entitled to you for life because you really feel like you can never repay them type stuff. But if everybody around you lives for drama, drinking, compulsive spending, chaos, validation, and emotional disorder, you will constantly be pulled into recovery from their lifestyle. Plot twist with that too. If you're on social media and communicating like on Twitter, how people communicate with each other, and I've experienced it from I made my Twitter in 2008, but and deleted it, But yeah, so when it comes to that, it gives you the false sense of connection to these people. And it's so easy when trends go around or if things come up that can trigger those addictions, like events and things like that. The fear of missing out is going to make people feel like they want to go, especially to connect with those people online. That's why so many people in a positive manner have made connections online, but then also a lot of bad friendships and bad relationships were created online as well. But that also is the nature of the beast when it comes to human connection. No matter where it's at, like it's never guaranteed to be safe. There is no filter to filter out the safety of a relationship. You can have people meeting people in schools and churches and different things, places where you think everyone is of a certain mindset, and still, you know, how that be in this sometimes. That tug of war is real. Some people genuinely like your discipline, your integrity, your stability, your humor, your groundedness. They may even say they want what you have, but wanting your peace and living in a way that protects peace are two different things. Some people want healthy outcomes while remaining loyal to unhealthy environments. That rarely works. You cannot consistently heal in spaces addicted to keeping you dysregulated. And this applies to families too. A lot of families don't just have one addict, they have an entire ecosystem that protects dysfunction. The enabler, the denier, the rescuer. That was me, the rescuer. And unfortunately, by rescuing, that's enabling too. The financier. Ha! All my life, I had to finance. That's just how they are, and that's across the board. Like I've had friends that have blessed the game, but those probably were actual like reciprocal connections. With the buddy system, the guilt dealer, the fake peacemaker, the chaos normalizer, and everybody acts confused when the pattern keeps repeating every holiday. At some point, it is not a surprise, it is a system. And then emptiness, escape, and false worship. There is also a spiritual dimension to addiction that people often ignore because they don't want to sound too serious. But let's be serious. Addiction often becomes a form of worship, not always in a formal religious sense, but in the sense that a person organizes their life around the thing. They seek it, they think about it, they protect it, budget for it, lie for it, travel for it, defend it, lose sleep for it, sacrifice relationships for it. That is devotion. Also, too, you can create relationships based off of shared addictions. And that is why a lot of the times people be friends and in relationships for years, but no, you weren't. It was an addiction connection. And that's usually why recovery is the end of a lot of connections in people's life, because that wasn't the ties that bound y'all. Whatever ties that bound you to people, when you break the tie yourself, so if the tie is addiction that bound y'all or trauma that bound y'all, healing is going to result in that tie being removed. Now, if both parties are mature enough, you can navigate reintroducing each other. And maybe, if the other party's still struggling, maybe that might help them excel. They have cases of that happening as well. But if you're hoping that it's like a Power Rangers or some type of movie where your light is just going to shine and then everything going to fall out of them like a shoplifter's purse after loss prevention catch them, no, that's not always guaranteed. And this is devotion. A lot of people do not just use substances or behaviors, they submit to them. And underneath that submission is often a spiritual void, no inner peace, no grounded identity, no meaning, no self respect, no reverence for life, no stillness, no ability to sit with pain without fleeing. So they medicate existential emptiness with stimulation. With stimulation is not peace. Numbness is not healing. Distraction is not transformation. And rebellion against wisdom is not freedom. A spiritually starving person is very vulnerable to addiction because anything intense can feel meaningful when your soul is starving. That is why recovery often has to involve more than removing a substance. It may require rebuilding a person's relationship to truth, discipline, self respect, community, and what they believe life is actually for. Whether someone is religious, not religious, spiritual, therapy centered, or just trying to stop ruining their own peace, the principle is the same. You have to build a life that makes self destruction less attractive. Because if a person hates being present in their own life, they will keep searching for exits. And sometimes it means that if you're trying to remove habits, you also have to have some place markers, some placeholders to take the place of them and introduce new things slowly, or have an exit strategy of if you know that maybe you trying to quit something that you're gonna have withdrawals on, maybe quit it on the day before your off day so that you don't experience withdrawals at work. Or if you have sick time at work, if you have a therapist, or if you have access to resources to see a doctor, get some FMLA maybe and take some time off from work to give yourself time to introduce maybe walking, nature, grounding, stargazing, like just stuff to do so that you can feel satisfaction that has more substance to it. Because we have been connected to the earth and all of the things around it for millennia. All of this technology stuff is not embedded in our DNA yet. It's embedded in our individual brains as people using it, but our DNA has not caught up with cell phones to where it's something that we just have to have. Like, we can do without it, especially when we start putting nature first and our nature as a human first. Like, that's one step, but belief is always the lock to the door. If you don't have belief, then all of this stuff is just in a warehouse that's locked and you don't have the key to it. And belief is something that's a journey that it varies by you as a person. But if you are able to easily believe in failure, then it's possible that you will see results, but it's always going to be built on sand and not on an actual solid foundation. And stimulation is not peace, numbness is not healing, distraction is not transformation, and rebellion against wisdom is not freedom. A spiritually starving person is very vulnerable to addiction because anything intense can feel meaningful when your soul is underfed. That is why recovery often has to involve more than removing a substance. It may require building and rebuilding a person's relationship to truth, discipline, self respect, purpose, community, and what they believe life is actually for. Whether someone is, oop, that was an encore. And then section 8, how adults quietly pass the damage down. This is where it gets especially painful. Addiction gets passed down, sometimes genetically, sometimes behaviorally, sometimes environmentally, sometimes through trauma or through modeling. Children imitate adults. They watch how adults cope, fight, regulate, numb out, use phones, eat, talk to themselves, manage grief, and lie. And sometimes they even have the children participate too. And what scares me now is how early some of this starts. A lot of adults are handing devices to toddlers as emotional sedatives. The child is restless phone. The child is loud tablet. The child is bored screen. The child is sad screen. Child needs soothing screen. Now, to be fair, every parent gets overwhelmed. This is not about condemning exhausted people who need a moment. It's about what becomes the pattern because when consistent stimulation starts early, children may not properly build frustration tolerance, attention skills, boredom tolerance, imagination, emotional self regulation, and human engagement. On the outside, it can look plush. Please stop trying to make fetch happen. The kids the kid has devices, the kid has content, the kid has material things. The family looks like they're up, like they got it together. But behind the scenes, the child may be underdeveloped emotionally, overstimulated mentally, parented relationally, and trained to flee discomfort immediately. Then that's dangerous. Children raised around addiction often carry hypervigilance, anxiety, parentification, which parentification is when the child has moments or situations where they're literally being the adult to the adult in the situation, listening to them vent about stuff, telling them the best judgment for things, just all of that stuff. Shame, people pleasing, distrust, chronic stress, confusion around what normal looks like. That's why adults must be careful not to scar children in ways they later call personality traits. Things adults can do to reduce harm to children. Let children see healthy coping, not just you collapsing or crashing out. Apologize when you were wrong instead of pretending chaos is normal. And it's so funny because as an adult, some people make it easier for you to know that their parents didn't apologize by how they handle accountability. Because typically, people in households where it was you got in trouble for being wrong, those people never admit when they're wrong, even when they're wrong. And you can kind of see their inner child jump out. You could tell that they probably used to blame stuff on their siblings all of the time, even if it wasn't the siblings, because you can literally see them break something and they tell you that you did it, even though you wasn't even in the room with them, like type stuff. And do not make children emotional dumpsters for adult problems. That's going to be a hard one for a lot of people because when you have people that's been living a certain way for so long, the fact that they still alive gives them this false confidence that what they've been doing is correct, even if the life was a miserable one. Like, limit devices as default soothing tools. Build family rituals that are not built around intoxication, screaming, or screams. Protect them from adult drama they are too young to process. Get help early if addiction or emotional instability is in the home. Teach feeling words, boundaries, prayer or reflection, and calming practices. Make boredom survivable again. Children do not need perfect adults. They need adults who are honest, regulated enough to repair, and brave enough to get help. How to replace addictive patterns with healthier alternatives. Now let's get practical, because awareness without replacement is just fancy frustration. You cannot simply tell people stop doing that. I'm pro free will, like people, and I also understand from too many decades of experience, people literally don't give a fuck about what you got to say. And depending on the person, for me, if I find myself around people that need me to tell them to stop doing something, they benefit off me for whatever reason, and I'm just doing charity work until my contract expire, my PR contract expire, and then they gone with the wind in my world. Because for me, I'm not God, I'm not Jesus, I'm not any entity, religious, anything to serve people. I have done and will always do many works of charity by my own choice and my own ability to do so. Now, granted, previously, a few software versions ago, I was not always a person. I was a sacrificial giver, to where I would give my last. Like, I've literally done that before. But that software was removed. So that's not something that I even think about doing. And I don't even want to be around people who are on that type of time of knowingly taking someone's last, because typically, and sometimes not so typically, those people, the the full motive of why they're around you is probably darker than you could ever fathom, and sometimes you may see it, sometimes you may not. And let's see. Okay, so now let's get practical. You have to help them answer a harder question. What is this addiction doing for me, and what can replace that function without destroying my life? That is the real work. If the addiction is giving relief from the stress, replace it with walking outside without your phone, breath work, lifting weights, stretching, cold or cool showers. Cold or cool showers also activates the brown fat in our body for people who trying to trim down a little bit. Journaling before bed, prayer or silent reflection, tea instead of alcohol at the same hour ritual. Oh yeah, so like you replacing tea, and especially if you drink like certain tonics, like the little water, sparkling waters and stuff, that be having bitter taste that's kind of similar to alcohol. In case you just want to pretend you drinking champagne, music, listening to music without scrolling, cooking from scratch. If the addiction is a stimulation one, replace it with sports, dancing, hiking, creative work, building something, volunteering, learning a new skill, in person hobbies with accountability. If the addiction is giving emotional numbing, replace it with therapy, support groups. And they have so many support groups online. Even if you don't have social media, you can find local clubs or like different categories. Like if you are a woman, there's probably hundreds of groups in your town, depending on how big it is, on or offline or mail. It's just different groups for different things, beliefs, preferences, comic books, just anything. Structured journaling, trauma informed counseling, honest conversations with safe people, crying, grieving, and processing instead of sedating. If the addiction is giving social belonging, replace it with faith communities with actual and faith communities with actual integrity, recovery groups, sober events, fitness groups, classes, clubs, volunteering with grounded people, friendship not built around crisis or vices. If the addiction is giving identity, replace it with becoming known for service, discipline, skill, kindness, reliability, or integrity. A lot of people need to understand this clearly. You're not about you're not about to just break an addiction. You're grieving a relationship. Because the addiction was helping you do something, hide, cope, belong, perform, forget, soothe, rebel, feel alive, feel chosen, distracted, powerful, or less alone. That is why replacement matters. Simply simplifying the daily anti-addiction practices regular people can actually do. Put the phone in another room for the first 30 minutes after waking. Eat one home cooked meal a day. Go outside every day, even briefly. Build one non-negotiable bedtime routine. To go back to number two is eat one home cooked meal a day. Start simple. Start with something you already know how to make, and then look at other things to make, because the cooking process itself is simple. Like, it literally takes no skill to activate a stove or appliance and insert something in there. The actual flavor and safety and consistency and all of that other stuff, now that depends on what style of food you cooking. But there are so many simple things. But what I find is that people who told themselves that they can't cook really don't cook. Like, they don't try. Like, they're so skilled at clinging on to the nearest person with food access around them, that that's the first thing they do. Because I know I've been on smaller vessels offshore where you have to cook for yourself, and then I've been on bigger ones where we've had hired cooks, but no matter the size, I've always cooked my own food. I may partake in stuff every now and then, but given the hand washing habits I witnessed, the fact that I used to be the only person using soap in the restroom, like, literally, I when I was at work, the soap would move throughout the weeks. But when I would go home and come back, that soap would never move. So that let me know that nobody was washing their hands, and but everybody was blowing up the restrooms. Like, nah, nah. So definitely learn how to cook, and if you don't, and if you can just learn the basics of food, because again, you and the thing about food, when people act like they have no knowledge of food, you eat it every day, you have knowledge on it. Don't like you know if something's crunchy or gummy or sour or sweet. Like, that's the basic knowledge right there. But when people want to play dumb, for different reasons, just send them to the circus. That's all. Honestly, too, though, I'm gonna finish this list before I say this. Build one non-negotiable bedtime routine. Keep alcohol and gambling apps out of the house or off your phone if there are a problem. Use spending delays. Wait 24 hours before non-essential purchases. Make boredom normal again. Track patterns instead of excuse. Don't recover alone if the issue is serious. Change your environment, not just your intention, because environment beats motivation. Especially if you have the resources and the knowledge about the area to relocate, relocation can help. So many people just sit in the same apartment complex for years because that's how their mama and their daddy and all their people lived, or that's how all their homegirls and them do, or they might have lived in a smaller city with less apartment options, so it wasn't enough room to move around and stay local. But a lot of the stuff I see could be switched if people just move. People who live in certain cities, just moving to the suburbs of that city might give you better, reactions to not having to deal with as much traffic, or getting to places faster, or the air is cleaner, or your kids feel safer, or they could play outside in your backyard instead of having to worry about them getting hit from the front yard, just stuff like that. And also, too, whether or not people agree with addiction, it's going to destroy, it's destroying them. Now, how far it goes, how fast it goes, case by case basis. But the best thing that could happen is you heal. Like, anything outside of you healing, repairing, becoming aware of the whole state of affairs in your life. Because if you have an addiction, is you probably have a high rise worth of skeletons that's just having their own little reality shows on each level. And so it's just deeper than it's just one thing. Like, the phone is just one of many things. And you also have to track everyone around you, if they are like, if y'all connection is that addiction. Because then if you kick an addiction, you're gonna have to kick those people. Like, everyone loves the idea in this beautiful world. I wish with all my heart to fly with dragons in a land apart, where me and someone who bonded over blunts, that person is not going to be blowing smoke in my face every time I hang around them, and the conversations won't be weird when they still high all of the time, and all of these different things. Like, that would be so beautiful, but that's not realistic, because eventually is unless it's a person who have depth to them and they have multiple layers that y'all connected to outside of the initial layer, yeah, of course. But baby, it's a lot of one flow hoes out here and bros and droves and gutter hoes too, you know? So how to handle addiction and addicts at work, family, home, your neighborhood. This part matters because not everyone can just disappear from addicted people overnight. Like, yeah, you know, be real, be for real. If you work with addicts, document important things, keep communication clear and in writing when needed. Do not cover for repeated dangerous behavior. Maintain boundaries. Do not loan money. First of all, don't loan nobody money. Now, if somebody come along and you feel like you want to loan it to them, whatever happened, you know, but take it from me, do not loan nobody money, especially if you ain't living with them, if you're not sleeping with them. Like if it's not no close connection or a certain type of situation going on, and even then, I used to be a person who thought only new people played with you loaning them money. But baby, it could be people who have a good credit score with you. They could have a perfect credit score in your in the credit in the bank of your mind. And all it takes is one time. That's just like I always say when it comes to people doing stuff. All it takes is one purse snatch to make you a purse snatch. All it takes is one candy bar to make you a shoplifter. Like all it takes is that one time. So especially if you somebody who is regularly close to paycheck or not too far from it, or you recover from being that person, baby, like if the people around you didn't catch on when you caught on, you're gonna have to leave them behind. And this is because the reality of it is we have these worlds with people where we love these people and these people, it's my family, it's my friends and all of that. But at the end of the day, you just a human being on the planet surviving every day. Like if you zoom out, we look like a bunch of ants to a telescope. So all of these different things that's imaginary in our head on the grand scheme of things is not real. And what ends up happening is you overvalue, you over appraise what you mean to people, and then you become this sacrificial person to all these people. But you see a very dark truth, and maybe you've been seeing it, but then it hit harder the later time go on, that these people will double cross you for a cheeseburger. They will double cross you for a earlier spot in line or for a position at a job that you got them on. Like you playing dangerous games when you chance your survival on the fact of people around you giving your resources back or appreciating you. Like the way that survival of the fittest, if it was not for society, like I will always say, a lot of us would not be alive because you guys do not want to admit that a lot of people would double cross you if they survival meant it. And that's why they do it. When people are in survival mode, they think it's the end of the world every single day. So when they're stealing from people, scamming from people, lying to people, their brain has normalized doing that because every day could be their last day in their mind. And that's deep down in fight or flight mode. So when you get in these situations where the benefit of your life, a new job, moving away, all of these things relying on people present day, baby, you better meditate and see if you could peek into the future or something, because a lot of the times it's people that people would die for, and sometimes them people be the one who make you die, or it be people that you would have just did so much for, and then they end up double crossing you later. And now it's a lot of ex best friends and ex lovers with each other name tattooed on them, because it always feel like forever when it's good, because we be hoping good lasts forever. And the sad part about it is that some situations are temporary. That's why it's good to just become more aware and more insightful, because once you go through your life long enough, you will see what your regular is, what your expiration date for situations is, because we all have different times for stuff based off of our lifestyle, based off the lifestyle we're working towards, based off our upbringing. So you have to assess what things mean to you for real, not with the outside influencing it, not with the people making you feel like you need friends. So you've been holding on to this friend group because your family believes that friends is a tool, a temperature tool on how valuable you are, like a price tag on how valuable you are. And just those types of unhealthy connections, or maybe you hate a job, but you afraid of having a reputation of always quitting jobs. Like you just have to make changes that work for your life, but you also have to own up to everything that didn't work. Because if you keep making changes and choices, like how people continue to date after all of these years of trauma, and they keep dating and adding more trauma and keep dating, it's like trying to drive with mud on your windshield. You never wiping the original mud off. You just continue to drive until one day you can't see anymore. And if you're related to addicts, stop confusing guilt with love. Stop rescuing patterns that are destroying you. Don't fund lies. Don't argue with intoxicated people. Sit clear consequences and follow through. Protect children first. Always protect children first. Don't just talk about it. Don't just act like, oh, what about the children? Oh, they're trying to influence the children. People be online talking about all type of agendas for children and ain't even seen their children. Like, you know, protect your peace without pretending you do not care. Learn the difference between support and enablement. Loving someone does not require joining them in the pit. If addicts live in your neighborhood, this can be harder because sometimes it affects safety, noise, theft, disturbances, reckless driving. Baby, the reckless driving. Honestly, I have a theory unrelated to all of this, that there are particular people out there who purposely do dangerous public behaviors with the hopes that they hurt a child, and that they know the ways of pretending that it was an accident. Because the way some people drive, you cannot tell me that they hate children, especially if it's the school zone. It's too many people going 60 in school zones, or neighborhoods where you see animals and kids outside any given time. You see them playing basketball, you see them riding their bikes, because it's a quiet street, and you have cars that pass through these streets every single day going 60 nonstop. Like, so yeah, reckless driving, neglect, property damage, or children being exposed to instability. Reasonable steps include staying observant without becoming obsessed. Wait, rewind right back right there, because this is an impulsive statement I'm making right now. But when it comes to the protect children first, I'm so true to that, like over the a child not being protected, that I threw away pretty much one half of the tree completely over the fact that a child was not being protected, and I took action, and my action was met with resistance, even though it was supposed to be agreed that the child was in an unsafe situation. So for me, I really, when it comes to children, like, and that's honestly too why I really had to like not be friends with people who have children no more, especially because now that, in my 20s, I've been people doing stuff, but I witnessed children be born in my 20s, and as in my 30s, I'm seeing who they became. And now I'm looking back at a lot of stuff that really I never realized could impact children, that people did to their own children. And now I'm realizing that I really don't want to be friends with people who have children if they children are grown, or if they don't take care of their children, because it's disgusting for people to be so gung ho on the toxic traumas that their parents did to them, and wanting it to be a family heirloom of repeating these same behaviors, even though they could tell you word for word how it hurt them when their parents did it to them, and they're doing it to the children. And for me, it's like, I respect that people are people parents, but the thing about it is, these children grow up to destroy the world. They grow up to be the murderers and different people doing different things. So it's like, I'm not about to be watching no future, psychopath be bred in front of my eyes. So I'm going to, first of all, state my disdain for it, but then I'm also just going to step away from them, because there's too many of them. And it's like, these people, They kiss ass in friendships, and they want all these praises and want you to tell them they're a good friend, and try to tell one-sided stories about the shit that go on with their children, but they never take accountability for things they do. And then you start to realize, when you really look deeper in them, that they really not even a good friend either. It's really more of a location thing. Oh, I it was back in the days when we met here, or it's been this long of a time, or we get along with this certain thing that we could talk about, and that's all it really be. But honestly, as an adult, if people still have time for friendship, and you have areas in your life that's lacking, your priorities are really messed up. And that's something that they tried to teach us when we were growing up. If you were any type of student anywhere, of structure, because as an adult, nobody gonna put your life in front of you. Nobody gonna hand you all of the stuff you need to do on in a stack of files and put it on your desk, and you could just go through the life duties you need to do from a desk. You got to get up and do all of this stuff on your own. And if you don't do it, like for me, I've had times where I was injured, where I couldn't move. So, but everything that I needed to do still was waiting for me. It didn't stop because I was injured. Like bills didn't pay themselves, like duties didn't get done. If I didn't outsource it to somebody else, it just didn't get done. So when it comes to everything that you need to do for yourself in your life, until you do right by you, everything gonna fall. Like that's the crazy part about that Color Purple quote, is that she was referring it to him doing right by her, but really that applies to people. Y'all are doing wrong by yourself, and y'all making excuses for it. And then sometimes y'all do the self-loathing thing, where people and individuals will out verbalize the negative things about themselves, and it's not healthy at all. But you're in the environments that fuel that, because as long as you stay addicted, all of these companies make money off of that. DoorDash make money off of impulse purchases. The concerts make money off people being addicted to not missing out. You see people was scammed and robbed at Coachella and still was buying more tickets. Like these situations, they have entered and infiltrated people's lives so deeply that if you get caught in one addiction, it's kind of like you walking through a field of bear traps. Like, okay, you walk in and then you step on the addiction bear trap. You fighting to get that one off, and then you also trying to stop the other traps that you can get in, which you can get into the subscription trap, where you keep forgetting to cancel a subscription every month and then it come out. Or some people, if you have enough funding to where it's not missed, you forget completely. I've worked in customer service and even at different jobs over the years, and the amount of people who, dog, they had one person join the gym 5 years before that time and came to cancel and did not remember that he joined 5 years ago. So that was 5 years of $30 a month that this man was just giving away. So they definitely pray. Like all of these companies have negative things about them. It might be for a good purpose, might be for health, it might be for different things. Like even with the loan companies jumping in and making it to where you could buy now, pay later for all kinds of frivolous stuff. That is not to be helpful. That is a trap. It could be useful. Like for me, I love using buy now, pay later when I don't have that particular card on me, and I just pay later with a different card and then just go and pay the full balance that same day, which that's a whole different, that don't even make sense to people if you don't know what I'm talking about. But it makes it easier, because what ends up happening is when you see, like if you were to spend $1,000 with buy now, pay later now, your brain is not going to register that as money you spent. It's going to register it as, or money you borrowed. It's going to register it as your money. Because if it's like, some type of neural connection where when we spend in a certain way with loans, we don't register it as a loan. And what ends up happening is the amount, they give you a big amount, which is usually more than what you make in a week. So you can't pay it back anyway if you wanted to. So you have no choice but to do the payments. But then what ends up happening is every time you drop lower, they send you more emails saying, oh, you got more money. And then you add in social media with the fear of missing out. Then you add in all of these different new products that for my people, shout out to y'all. But if y'all watching lifestyle content creators, you're being pushed all of these different items that this person who seems to be successful, that this person who seems to be happy are using. And subconsciously it gives that idea that that washer machine make me happier, or that computer may make me happier, or if I get that yoga mat, I'm gonna start working out too, and I'm gonna lose weight and all this other stuff. Like, they prey on all of that. Everybody's working together against you. Like, all of the companies together. It's crazy. And the sad part about it is, if you go from being small-minded to hearing situations like this, it'll sound like tinfoil hat information. But unfortunately, I really wish it was, because then that mean it would mean a possibility that is not the fact. But unfortunately, my head is too big for tinfoil hats, and I don't, it's real. It's evidence everywhere, and you can literally look at the people around you. Don't look at the celebrities, because they lie about their lives. You only see their real lives when they get exposed. Look at the people who you know, and look at how all of this is impacting them. When you're out in places, like I recommend every video, please don't get caught staring at people, but by all means start noticing how people are in different environments, and they never, like, they just lost in whatever it is that they're into. And then let's see, staying observant. So let's see. And then the next one is have empathy. Okay, compassion does not require recklessness. Some people here have empathy and translate it into ignore danger. No, have empathy and lock your door. Keep records. Protect your kids. Stop pretending chaos is noble. You can care about someone's humanity without volunteering your own nervous system as a sacrifice. I like that I could pause this, and that way just pause. Don't even have to really edit if I know I'm gonna stop. Just had to order something right quick. And who profits from this order? Here's the bigger conversation. Addiction is not just a private issue, it is also a profitable one. Entire industries make money from dysregulation. Alcohol industries, betting industries, app platforms, attention economies, influencer economies, fast dopamine businesses, predatory finance systems, impulse retail ecosystems. And some of these systems do not need you healthy, they need you craving. They need you underslept, underhealed, underdeveloped, emotionally triggered, easily marketed to, easily manipulated, distracted, and always in search of relief. That does not remove personal responsibility, but what it does do is explain why temptation is industrialized now. Commercial forces can shape addiction risk. NIDA has specifically noted that commercial interests contribute to drug use and addiction, including marketing exposure and online environments that can encourage risky behaviors. And when I tell y'all, on the public part and on the private parts of the internet, there are groups for everything. Anything good or bad you could think of, they have groups. It's really like, if some groups that they have out there, if y'all knew, it will mess y'all head up. But just know it's some dark groups out there. So it's always a support group for anything, whether you want to save the world or you want to destroy it. Somebody out there that believe in the same thing you believe in. That's why you have to realize where your current beliefs took you, and what beliefs you need to have some type of realignment with to get to wherever you want to really go. So when people act like addiction is just about character, they miss the full picture. Yes, personal choices do matter, but trauma, grief, upbringing, access, culture, technology, marketing, peer reinforcement, untreated mental illness, loneliness, economic hopelessness, spiritual emptiness, a society full of wounded, overstimulated, disconnected people is not going to produce emotionally healthy behavior by accident. And in closing, the seductive part about addiction is that it always offers relief before it reveals costs. It says, just one more time this weekend while things are hard, until I get paid, life settles down, till I feel better, just this season, just once. But for many people, the future becomes the expiration date that never arrives. And while they keep delaying change, life keeps collecting damage. That is why awareness matters, because addiction is not just about substances. It is about what repeatedly takes hold of a person and starts taking piece of their judgment, peace, relationships, time, honesty, health, money, and soul. That can be alcohol, drugs, gambling, phones, validation, shopping, chaos, toxic people, toxic people, even drama itself. And if we're honest, many people are not living. They are just rotating coping mechanisms. But there is another path, not a perfect path, not a flashy path, not a path that trends, a path of honesty, boundaries, replacement, support, healing, routine, spiritual grounding, environmental change, real accountability, slow rebuilding. People do recover, change, and they get free, but freedom usually begins when someone stops romanticizing the thing that is ruining them. And maybe that's the message. Be careful what you call normal, what you excuse because it's common, what you glamorize because it is profitable, what you hand to your children because it is convenient, and what you keep close because it feels familiar. Some things do not enter your life like monsters. They enter like comfort. And by the time they look like monsters, people are often already asking the questions I asked as a child. How did they get here? Usually one seductive excuse at a time. And one final word before I put the outro on with the lady that looked like Sherry Shepherd mixed with the New Orleans mayor, I would like to say that also keep in mind that sometimes it may not be as fast, like the results are not as fast as we think. And also don't think don't let shame rule your life. If you know that people know stuff about you or feel stuff about you, just accept the fact that that's their feelings. It doesn't have to be your feelings about yourself. Wait. If you are a certain weight, accept the reality of what the label is for that weight, and whatever you feel about it, if you want to change it, keep that separate from how people view you. If you know that you're making the change or that you will change, don't ever connect the results to how people will view you, because it won't. People have wild views. People tell people to get surgery. They get surgery and they tell them they're botched. Like, you will never win with people. And that is why people who are people pleasing never have happiness while in the people pleasing state. Or if you someone who maybe who has an addiction now, like, it's already known, you all you can do is heal from it. And if you heal from it and people still accuse you of being on it, as long as it's not something that is your freedom or a drug test or something that gets wrong, you cannot change how people feel about that. And you also have to understand, recovering from addiction is not going to guarantee you forgiveness from the people that your actions impacted while under the addiction, because depending on the severity of it, band-aids don't fix bullet holes. So yeah, and that's it. Y'all have a great day. And if you made it to the end of this, geez, it's 2 hours.
Like, comment, and subscribe to J New Orleans.